love when I am getting that very clear physical confirmation of what I'm just feeling, where I'm like, okay, I think it's time to record, because I still get a little bit nervous about part of it, or I still want to filter the message and think like, are you sure I should be as like bold as to share this story, but that's the story that's looping? And then I pull that up and they're like, yep, we're here, we're ready to go. So let's dive into it. I've been thinking a lot lately about my own history and journey through life, of course, and more specifically, a lot of things about my own energy, femininity, containment. There's something I saw that, I think I see these things every now and again. There's some, must be like on social media, that I've seen things about uh, being a choice, like in a romantic situation, like being chosen, right? And lately I've just been thinking, even the concept of being considered a choice does not feel right to me. And so I think in certain ways, we all want to feel chosen. And yet, I now have arrived at a place of, do I though? Do I want to be chosen? Because the notion of being chosen is, there's a time frame that puts you as a choice. And I think to myself, a choice is something that we have when there are options on a shelf and we're choosing which bathing suit to buy or what brand of oat milk we want to get at the grocery store, right? And so I'm thinking, I don't think I do want to be chosen. I don't feel the need to be chosen. I resonate so deeply with the understanding of my own divine union within and my wholeness, and just feel that I am radiating that energy and that frequency, that I think it's a very silly notion to be thinking that somebody would feel that I'm a choice, right? I am an experience, and there's a frequency and an energy and like a divine being, as we all are. And I'm not for choosing. And this, a whole kind of thought process is leading me to have this reflective energy on an experience I had when I was a teenager. I was about 15, and I signed myself up for this pretty big pageant. And I had never been in a pageant, and I really didn't have interest in being in pageants. There was a really hefty scholarship attached to this one. I want to say it was like somewhere between 50 to 100,000. It was like a sizable scholarship. So I saw that, and then I said, let me sign up for that. And egotistically, I had some kind of gumption at the time where I thought, well, it's a pageant, I can win that. And maybe didn't realize the everyone else around me was going to be people who lived and breathed pageantry as more of a lifestyle than a one-off type of thing. But anyhow, as I was approaching that and going through that process, there was a lot of prep being done on what kind of questions I would get in the interview, you know, Q&A type of thing, right? Part of the pageant. And the questions I was being asked as prep were, in my opinion now, rather silly. I imagine they were pulled from, the internet, whatever. What kind of possible pageant questions could you be asked? And this one particular one stands out in my mind. And it was, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what flavor would you be and why? And I've been thinking a lot about that question. And here I'm going to share what these thoughts are. My answer to that at that time would be just so starkly different from how I would answer that question now. And, let's say when I'm 15 and I'm way more saturated with other people's perspective of me, and inside of this, be palatable to everyone as best you can. How do you do that, right? I probably would have answered that question something like this. Well, I would be a classic vanilla chocolate twist soft serve with rainbow sprinkles. And that's because I have, you know, multiple sides to me. I can be deep and rich and also fun and lighthearted. And, I'm a very classic kind of individual. I also have that, sprinkle of rainbow on the top. I can be fun. What do you want me to be? And I will be it. um, like ridiculous, right? And I think the the thing that's been coming to me lately is this. I'd have to say I would be cool mint chocolate chip, because the bulk of what you can see and experience at first, seems a little cool, a little, sometimes people have called me stoic in the past, and maybe contained. And that somewhat steady, balanced, cool, contained energy can be quite triggering to other people. It can be off-putting. People don't like it. People don't like that stoicism. It makes them uncomfortable. However, for those people who are more in alignment with the frequency that I carry, they appreciate that presence, the peace, the space that cool steadiness provides, and they feel it as truth and authenticity. And those are my people. And when they get that, they're the lucky ones that then get to realize that there are chocolate chips sprinkled in. What ratio, you'll never know, right? Is there one in this spoonful and 5 chocolate chips in this spoonful? There's a mystery. There's an experience. There's an understanding that I am layered and not for capture and not for deduction or dissection. And if you can't hold the mystery of some of the things that feel like a little bit of a gentle surprise, and this notion of I can't quite figure it out. I can't quite figure you out. Well, good, because I'm not meant to be figured out, right? I'm not meant to be figured out. And people know whether they really love mint chocolate chip ice cream or whether they really don't. And I like that. I like to know who is for me and who is not. And in the reciprocal energy, this is vibration of authenticity. And it is your responsibility as somebody who is interacting with me to know yourself and to trust yourself. And I'm thinking of these phrases of having, like, your eyes are bigger than your stomach, or, just being attuned to what works best for you and your body. If in terms of like overindulgence or like what is your capacity, and don't displace anything about my presence that shines a light onto certain things within you as my responsibility, right? Can you take ownership? Can you trust yourself? Can you be attuned not just to me, but also to yourself? And those are my people. And when they know, 3 spoonfuls is good for me, the real gift is the melt, right? The real gift is the melt. The thing that other people are afraid of. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I should even get ice cream today because it's so hot. It might melt in my hand. So maybe I shouldn't even order it to begin with. Ooh, and I'm riddled with fear and hesitation and trepidation about experiencing having an ice cream cone today. And yet, for those who are not faint of heart, and who've done some inner work, who show up for my people, who like that flavor. It's okay to experience the type of respect and safety and reciprocity where somebody can be vulnerable with you, where you can have something melt in your hand and know you're good and they're good. And you don't need to fix or rescue or change. It's not actually a problem. It's, I want to say like a sacrament. I don't even know fully what I mean there. It's a testament, right? And when the last drip has, melted through your fingertips and you start to get a very overwhelming, teary, emotional sensation with this bittersweet symphony, as you're thinking you have finished experiencing this. The surprise on your face when you look up at the ordering window at the counter to see me staring back at you, and you go, and you look like you just saw a ghost. And I say, "Oh, honey, did you really think I was an ice cream flavor? Oh my goodness. No, no, no. I'm not ice cream. I'm not for consumption. I own this business. This is an industry. I am the operation. I'm the collapse. I'm the rebuild. I am the rebrand. This is experience." And also, if you're the type of person who feels they can only understand me by asking me to describe myself as a flavor of ice cream, and then you're going to cry when you think it's melted in your hand, you may need to step aside. You may need to step aside because it's not my job to explain or deduce myself into metaphors and analogies to try to teach you how to hold an open palm to receive something that your mind just can't surrender to experiencing rather than containing. This is a key to liberation, self-worth, self-love, honoring, and has some strong undercurrents or undertones of devotion and deliverance versus dominion. I have had many experiences throughout my childhood and adolescence. I mean, my whole life, really, um, where there have been many influencing factors, societal constructs, culture that has tried to push and pressure me into showing up in a way that doesn't make anybody else uncomfortable. And where and why people feel comfortable to say things to a woman that they think is attractive about how they should be presenting their emoting, expressing, using body language. I'm thinking of an example there, which just happened 1,000,001 times. But one little example that sticks in my mind is having a day where something had been really upsetting to me, and I can't remember what it was, but I went through a drive-through to get a coffee. And the person, I was not mean. I was not being mean at all. I'm using manners. I'm a kind and respectful person, regardless of what mood state I am in. And yet I wasn't bubbly and smiling, right? Because I was dealing with something. And the person said, smile a little bit. It's not that bad. You look like somebody died today or something like this. And I was just like, oh, okay. Am I making you uncomfortable? And also, maybe somebody did die today. Huh? Maybe. And the point is, I've just noticed some some ways in which people have seemed to very clearly feel too comfortable to pass judgment on how I present and to give unsolicited requests as to how they would like me to morph myself into a version that makes them feel good. And if there is something about my kind, centered, peaceful, stoic, yeah, I'll admit, I understand where people can say I can have that stoicism. That's fine, right? Yeah, I can present that way. And that's not a problem, and it's not something I need to shift. If it is triggering to someone else, that is fully their responsibility to have enough self-awareness, patience, space holding, containment to not feel that discomfort and immediately throw it back in my face. You hold that. You hold that. That's not mine. You think it is because it came up in you when I passed through your drive-through window. I'm just a mirror here for you in that scenario. What is it that brought up for you? What is it that makes you feel comfortable to say something like that to a complete stranger, right? To deduce and diminish and push somebody to try to prove themselves to you. And I'll give another example that feels a little bit similar to this place of judgment. In my undergrad, this was not in my master's, this was still in my bachelor's program. I was going for a psychology major, and I had been thinking about doing a PhD in psychology. And so I set up a very preemptive, I was like in my sophomore year, maybe, or maybe junior, meeting with the guidance counselor of the college to find out some more information about what do I need to do to start setting up this track. And it was a 5-minute meeting, if that. The person didn't even pull up anything on their computer. I came in, said, I want to meet with you today because of this. I'm looking at, this option. And they just said, well, I think you should consider something else because, those programs are really difficult to get into and you have to carry a 4.0 pretty much through your whole undergrad experience. And so that's that. And I don't even know how to describe it, but the energy, they didn't leave room for me to even say anything. They just said what they wanted to say very quick and kind of harshly and pushed me out of the door and closed the door. I was just out in the hallway with the door closed, just like, what just happened to me? And it felt to me clearly that this person just looked at me and decided from what I looked like that somehow gave them an indication of who I was or what my intellect was, what my academic performance looked like. I had it for everything the person said, you have to do X, Y, Z, you have to be bop, bop, bop. I literally had all of that. They didn't even pull up my chart or ask me. But at that point, I just didn't want to talk to that person, obviously. And it wasn't worth turning around. Like, where's a conversation like that going to go? Where's a conversation like that going to go? And I suppose at this point in my life, the truth is I would have handled that differently. I wouldn't have not walked away. I probably would have knocked and, said something just to help them to be able to maybe not do that to another person again, not from a place of needing validation from that individual. Yeah. What else is there that I want to say in this matter? It's been a learning journey. It's been very much a learning journey because I am energy sensitive. I am an empath. People feel that. I'm called to do this work. I love it. I love it. It lights me up to do this work. And now, as I'm in this professional role, the there's no boundary issue in my professional work. I can do this, and the energy exchange is beautiful and equal. I am paid to do what I love to do. There's a natural energy exchange and just, some kind of like natural infrastructure of proper boundaries that hold me in being able to pour into other people in this professional way, with this healing work that is very much channeled, where I don't want to say I'm less of the equation. I'm certainly here. But I'm very much working in collaboration and partnership with the divine. And I feel that and I know that. And it helps me take out my ego a little bit and it gives some natural protection. However, that has been a journey. That's been a journey. And I've had many experiences in my personal life where I've been in very unbalanced dynamics. And I've had to learn how to hold my own space. I've had to learn how to show up for myself. And I don't fault the people who have been a part of the equations with me in which there's been unbalanced energy, because I just kept on pouring. I just kept on pouring. I kept pouring. I didn't pace. I didn't match. I didn't balance the energy exchange. And I really didn't. I didn't. And now I do. And that's been a gift to learn how to hold and pour, how to hold my own cup, how to keep it full, how to continue to manage the flow of energy in personal relationships so that I don't leave someone else feeling, and I'm saying this because it's obviously for me. It is self love first. And if that feels triggering to hear, and there's part of you that goes like, ooh, selfish, ooh, guilty, right? This is work for you to do. This is healing to be done. That's healing to be done. Because when I say, who should you prioritize taking good care of and loving first? And you're not comfortable to say me, then you are robbing yourself and all the people around you of healthy, divine, connected relationships that have a deeper level of intimacy that could never be accomplished if you are in a self-sacrificial energy, which is creating a deficit in your energy exchanges. And that is unfair to the other people too. It's not just unfair to you, it's unfair for the person that you're overpouring into. They don't want to be flooded and drowned. They don't want to feel guilty or unworthy that they can't match that energy or pour back in at the same rate and speed and volume, right? And this is just a bedrock of fertile ground to grow a lot of resentment in relationships that function on those broken premises that come from attachment wounds. So re-mothering ourselves, reparenting ourselves, loving so deeply this worthiness, this container of knowing like you're not too much. You're not too much. And I got a coffee this morning and it says, your best is enough. And they took that's a longer thing than they normally write out on my coffees. Your best is, and they underline it 3 times, enough with a heart. Like so cute. As I'm about to do this, I love it. Your best is enough. You don't need to be more palatable. You don't need to throw rainbow sprinkles on top, even though you don't really jive that way because other people feel uncomfortable if you're not having a perma smile on your face, right? Let me move differently. Let me walk differently. Let me speak differently. Let me dress differently to make sure you don't think I'm too much, to make sure I'm not triggering your insecurities and your sense of unworthiness. If you cannot find that worthiness from the altar within, you need to turn within. You cannot pull it from me. I'm thinking of somebody like wringing a towel to get every last drop of the light out of it, the energy out of it, right? Like, I don't feel worthy. Give me more, 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 more. And it's just like, oh my goodness, there's only so much that a person can take of that unbalanced energy. Your worthiness is not my job, quite frankly. Now, there are 2 people for which, in some ways, I will hold some of their worthiness as a piece of my responsibility. And that is my children. I absolutely am dedicated to them seeing the ineffable, immeasurable worthiness of themselves reflected in my eyes and how I help to make space for them to not feel the need to shrink and conform as much as possible. We all go through some of those things, like the society is built in that kind of way, right? And so there's going to be moments where you feel the pressure, the push, the walls closing in on you. And where's the ingenious resilience, innovation, where I'm thinking of my kids, I'm sure most kids do this, where they, kind of like stretch out into an X and Spider-Man climb up a hallway where the walls are closed to the top, right? When the walls get too close like that, remember how I used to do that? Come on, girl, get out of there. Come on, man, climb up there and just pop out on top of the roof of that if the walls are closing in, because you don't deserve to shrink yourself down